And before we call the roll, I just want to say, as allowed by Minnesota Statute 13D.02, Subdivision 1, Paragraph B and 2, Commissioner West will be attending this meeting remotely from a location that is not open to the public. And with that, we'll do a roll call.
Commissioner Look.
Here.
Commissioner Brastad.
Here.
Commissioner West.
Here.
Commissioner Schulte.
Here.
Commissioner Gamache.
Here.
Commissioner Reinert.
Here.
And the roll has been called. Next, we'll move to item 4 on the agenda, where we'll consider accepting the regular claims paid over $500 and purchase card claims paid for the period ending November 19th of 2021. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Brastad. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gamache. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Brastad.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert.
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
And that item passes. Next, we'll look for approval of the minutes from November 23rd, 2021, the County Board meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner Reinert. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Brastad. Any corrections, deletions, or discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
And that item passes. Next, we're going to move on to committee reports, and we're going to start with the Management Committee report and Commissioner West.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My report is completely informational items, and that concludes it.
Thank you, Commissioner West. And that concludes our committee reports. And now we are going to entertain a public hearing. I will turn it over to the county attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, let me get a microphone on. There we go. This time I then would call a public hearing to order and ask that the clerk make part of the record that notice was published on Friday, November 19th, 2021 of this particular hearing. The purpose of the hearing this morning is to receive any public testimony on proposed changes to the capital improvement program for the 5-year period 2022 through 2026. At this time, I understand Division's Finance and Central Services Division Manager Corey Camp will now address the board. If you could, Mr. Camp.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Palumbo. Mr. Chair, board members, my name is Corey Camp. I'm the Finance and Central Services Division Manager. Annually, we hold a public hearing to talk about the capital improvement program, or the capital program that we have. And we do this as we anticipate we may be bonding in any given year. And so this kind of also kind of solves a problem related to what's required under the legal constraints of bonding. So what I want to look at here is, as part of this, we just have to present what the whole capital program is, and then hold a public hearing for comment, and then go ahead and approve on that. So again, the capital program includes projects that are over $100,000, improving the county's infrastructure, equipment costing over $25,000, and vehicle purchases. So the total capital improvement program is over $788 million over the 5-year period. The budgeted part of $123 million will be included in the budget that is adopted. Keep in mind that this is a program for informational purposes. This does not approve all of the projects in the 23 to 26. It's more informational and kind of what our plans are. It's a planning document. It does not approve. Anything in the 2022 budget is adopted and has a placeholder in the budget, but as with anything in a large dollar amount, it has to go through a process and an approval process through our committees with contracts and other policy rules and state law regs around those. So that's what this means going forward. So as we look at the funding sources again, this just gives us our overall funding sources, how we anticipate paying it, and it's part of the plan. And again, as you look out to the 23 to 26, this will evolve and change each year we update it. this is just what we know today, so. As we look at the 22 spending plan, the 123 million, it's reminding you, and I know you saw this last night, the majority of it is road and bridge, our highway expenditures, a lot of projects around there. Highway 10 is one of the largest ones. We also have under special projects, we have some projects related to public safety. We have a emergency communications building that we're looking at. This is all part of the jail project as well. Well, they are separate projects, but it's part of looking at the whole building of a new jail as well as a new parking ramp. Those are all being looked at and have been included within the capital program, besides a number of information technology items and parks and facilities and building and as well as equipment. So again, our funding, the bond proceeds are, the board did approve an intent to bond related to the jail project earlier this year. We will see where that goes later this year. There's a lot of state and federal grants that come in to pay for our capital program as well. So our county funding sources of 14 million come from many different areas. Our hazardous waste facility fund, which is one of the major projects, that is a separate tax that comes in to us, outside property tax. We have some allocations that come from our county program aid to the, our building fund, our technology fund. Asset preservation does provide some dollars for what is planned in 2022 as well. So, and with that, I'm going to turn it back to Attorney Palumbo to hold the public hearing.
All right, thank you,
If
Mr.
have any
Camp.
questions.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Camp about this matter? No. Seeing no questions, now we will have any public comment, and the notice did provide that anyone had questions about this program was to direct to you. Mr. Camp, did you receive any questions from members of the public regarding this, for the record?
Attorney Palumbo, we have not.
Okay, thank you. This time I would then turn it over to any members of the public who wish to comment. I'll ask 3 times. Any members of the public wish to comment? And actually seeing none, no members come forward. At this time, I will then close the meeting and turn the matter back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Attorney Palumbo. At this time, I will entertain an offer of Resolution 2021-133, the County Board adoption of the 2022 to 2026 capital program. Is there an offer of the resolution?
I'll offer the resolution.
Resolution's been offered by Commissioner Gamache. Further discussion? Commissioner Look.
Mr. Chair, thank you. The levy's kind of being set here, and the capital improvements budget is being established, and some of the capital improvements in there, I think, have yet to be voted on as to whether we're going to do them, proceed with them. Part of this, as was indicated, there's an intent to bond. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to bond, but as I understand, as Chair of the Finance Committee, I'm required to sign a document after this, if this passes, for that intent to bond. I don't know that I'm going to go so far as to say that I'm going to sign it under protest. However, I will sign it to not be obstructionist and an obstructionist in terms of this intent to bond. I think I've been clear, at least thus far, that I'm not necessarily supportive of some of these projects. And while it's a decision of the board and the majority of the board rules, obviously I may be in the minority on that. But certainly, as far as the signature goes, I will be signing it to allow that process to continue, yet not necessarily supportive of the final spending of those dollars. So I want to clarify that.
Thank you, Commissioner Look. Further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brastad.
Aye.
And that item passes. Next, we will move to item 9 on your agenda, where we'll consider Resolution 2021-134, the County Board adoption of the final tax levy and final operating budget and capital improvements budget for the 2022 program year for Anoka County. Is there an offer of the resolution?
I'll offer the resolution.
The resolution's been offered by Commissioner Brastad. Is there further discussion? Commissioner Look.
Mr. Chair, I just want to comment that I'm proud of this board for coming in with a zero levy. You know, I just received an indication of a report that was done that Minnesota is ranked #1 as being the least tax friendly in the nation. And that doesn't happen by accident, that happens by design. That happens over time. And I think everyone kind of has experienced increased inflation. If you've looked at your gas bill lately, you've seen that's gone up dramatically. If you've looked at your electric bill, that's gone up dramatically. Costs of goods and services have gone up dramatically. And we hear about it. I think we hear from our constituents that, you know, we had one last night that came forward with the Truth in Taxation that says, you know, this is a rather large increase that has to be borne now. And thankfully, they were clear that it was not an increase at the county level. However, there's other increases, whether it's school, city. Some of my district is seeing a 17% levy increase. Some is seeing a 24% levy increase, and it becomes a you know, a struggle, I think, for some folks. Some people can handle it. Some people don't even bat an eye. That's great. I'm very thankful for them, but others do struggle. And so when we roll in with a 0% levy, when, you know, cost of government keeps going up. You know, we have inflation in government, whether it's wages, whether it's insurances, whatever it is, cost of government goes up. Cost of salt, I think, went down, thankfully, but usually that goes up. Cost of fuel goes up, et cetera. I think people understand that. But when you come in with a zero levy, you're somewhat absorbing those costs, which can be perceived as a reduction because you're absorbing those costs. But I think in these times when we have unprecedented inflation out there, the likes that we probably haven't seen in the last 10 plus years, to come in with a flat levy like this, I think is good. And I'm hopeful that it's something that folks will find, you know, at least helpful in trying to navigate some of these financial times right now. So, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Look. Like you, I'm incredibly proud of this board and the way we've worked through the budget this year. Not just because it's tough times, but because we went to a whole new budgeting process. And everybody embraced it, from the staff level, department head level, right on down to line workers. Everybody embraced the fact that we wanted a new way of doing our financial business. And I'm proud of the way the board embraced it. I'm thrilled that we got to a 0% levy. There's a lot of reasons for that. And I think a couple of points you might have missed when you were talking about what causes governments to grow every year is one of it is the population grows. Our county continues to grow, and that adds to more road miles need to be plowed, more streets need to be patrolled by the sheriff's office. There's just other growth areas other than inflationary effects. And then the other correction I might make is that we're seeing inflation that we haven't seen in 45 to 50 years, not just 10 years. So it's a big deal. It's a real number, and it affects your bag of groceries. It affects a gallon of gas you buy. It's everything. So I am proud of our 0.0. With that, I'm going to throw a caveat on that we can't be comfortable there because next year is going to be tougher. I've said this every year. Next year is going to be tougher. We're going to have an increase. The question is how much? Are we going to be able to control it? With this board, I'm very confident we'll find a way to control it. But I wouldn't expect a 0% next year. Commissioner Reinert.
And I'd just like to add some comment. There's sometimes when you talk about levy percentage and increase and decrease and things like that, there is confusion about that. There's two ways that some people kind of look at this from time to time, and that is, and there's argument about this sometimes, where you can say that you had a 0% levy increase, but if the value of your property increased, let's say from $250,000 to $275,000, with a 0% increase, it would still increase your taxes. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the levy dollar amount that is neutral. That is a 0% increase, and that's something else, because the math on that then would be that the percent that we actually are charging decreased. And to Commissioner Look's point, and to your point, Chair, We've got increase in government cost, increase because of inflation, and we are still coming out levying the dollar amount the same as last year to this year. And so want to make that clarification because there is some argument about that when governments say, well, we have a 0% increase, and they say, well, then why did my taxes increase? Well, because if you're going on the percentage, it will increase if your valuation did. In this case, that's not the case. We have actually levied a dollar amount the same as last year. So in that way, it's actually quite an accomplishment, as you've already stated.
Thank you, Commissioner Reinert. Commissioner Gamache.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just echoing the other comments as well. I want to really thank staff for the hard work that they put in to have a whole new budget system come in within a year and to have everybody jump on board, as Chair Schulte mentioned, was a big accomplishment. And it did make, in my case, it made my job easier because I was even more able to understand exactly what was going on and how these changes were happening. And you could really see how it was laid out. So I really appreciate the work that was done from administrative to Corey's job in finance. We've got some expenses that are going to be coming up in the next few years beyond building any buildings. We've got expenses coming up in IT that continue to increase. We're going to have a new HR systems going in. We've got new finance systems coming in. All of these things continue to happen and are getting updated as we speak. And they can't really be stopped because the systems grow old and the systems are antiquated and you need new systems. And unfortunately, IT is not cheap. So those are expenses that we're going to have to bear as we update. And every company in the country does this. Whether they're public or private or whatever, they're all having to absorb these costs. So those things will continue to change. Hopefully it makes things easier. Hopefully it makes things work faster. And some of the public will see some of that hopefully down the road. But as Chair Schulte mentioned, our population is increasing, and that does raise some expenses that we're going to have in a number of places. So I think we did a great job this year to not only the board, but everybody that worked so hard on their budgets this year. Congratulations. A 0% levy increase is impressive in tough times. I think we have some thanks go out to the federal government for some dollars that were sent our way, but it was needed. We were dealing with the pandemic and something we've never dealt with before in my lifetime. So I don't like inflation coming back as it is, but I do remember the days in the 80s when, your interest rates were double digits and things like that. So for those younger people out there having to deal with this, you're just now going to start seeing some of that. Hopefully it won't be in the interest rates, but in your homes, but you're going to deal with some of that we dealt with through the 80s. But good job by everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gamache. Commissioner Brassad.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I, too, just wanted to shout out to staff because this is a huge undertaking to get to this point, and they have all done such a fantastic job in providing information, being very realistic about what their needs and wants are. And while we are at a 0% increase this year, I'm really proud of the work that's gotten done and happy to be able to deliver that. That shouldn't be expected year after year. That's just totally impossible because there are things we have on our horizon that as part of a county operation that we're responsible to do. So those are the things that we'll be looking at. And our commitment to the taxpayer is, at least from my perspective, is that whenever we make big investments and any time we're spending taxpayer dollars, we're going to make sure to do it responsibly and make the best decisions based on the information that we have. So I think as a board, we're committed to doing that, but really excited that we're able to do this a 0 increase this year. It's pretty exciting.
Thank you, Commissioner Brassad. Commissioner West, pardon the pun, but we're kind of doing the round robin. Are you ready to chime in?
Yes, of course, I don't have any new information to add. I ditto everything that's been said, but I have sat on the board the longest of all of you guys. And when I look at the difference in the way that our team has managed the funds, and particularly paid down such a large amount of debt, it's just such an improvement. We couldn't do some of the investments if we had not paid down the debt. We couldn't have kept the taxes, the levy as low as we have if we had not paid down the debt. And so, again, I know that everything that happens is a result of the hard work of the people who work for Anoka County. And I just want to say how much I appreciate the kind of people and the character of our whole team for doing the job so well.
Well, thank you, Commissioner West, and please don't take offense to me calling you round robin.
Oh, I've heard that all my life.
Well, we have before us a resolution. If there is no further discussion, it requires a roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
And that passes unanimously. I would, before we move on to the next one, I would ask the department heads in finance and who's ever here, make sure all these comments get passed down to the people in your ranks. It's so important that they know how much these commissioners care, not only about the work they do, but the quality of work they do and their willingness to do it. It just makes such a difference in a work environment when everybody understands how much they're valued. Please let them know. If they're not watching now, give them an elbow and tell them we care and we appreciate their work. Thank you. And we will move on now on to item 10 on your agenda, which is consider a resolution 2021-135, a resolution adopting a public safety levy, tax levy for program year 2022. This tax levy is in the amount of $1,750,000. Is there an offer of the resolution?
I'll offer the resolution.
The resolution's been offered by Commissioner Brassad. Is there further discussion? This tax levy is one that's authorized by the legislature and will expire in 2023. And we will no longer be levying it unless we go out to the legislature to renew that for specific public safety programs. And we will have that bridge to cross in the near future. Seeing no further discussion, this requires a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye. That item passes. And before we go on to item 11, I don't know whenever it's the right time to do this, but I want to thank the county attorney's office for your work all year long. Your diligence in making sure we're always doing the right thing is really important to us, and probably even more important to the public we serve, as they would be paying for the lawsuits for everything we did wrong if you weren't there to protect us. So thank you and your entire team for your work, and through the budget process as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Lawyers don't often get thanks, so this is a special day, and I will pass that along, and I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. And next, we'll move on to item 11, where we'll consider Resolution 2021-136, a resolution establishing compensation and expense amounts for Anoka County employees, unclassified employees, appointed division managers, department heads, elected officials, and county commissioners for 2022. Is there an offer of the resolution?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move adoption of resolution number 2021-136.
The resolution has been offered and is before you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Reinert,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye. And that item passes. With nothing else to come before the county board, we stand adjourned.
Regional Rail in 5 minutes.